You can tell her, you can tell her anything. She's a real good listener. You can tell her anything.
Yo, what's up? It's your girl, Father Longlegs. You know me, Daddy T. This is You Can Tell Me Anything, the podcast where comedians and artists and anyone I want to talk to, basically. Last year I had like journalists on because I got bored. I have them on to confess something they want to get off their chest. Very excited for my guest today. He's super funny, has a special on HBO called The Golden One, and is a wonderful stand-up comedian and musician. Give it up for Whitmer Thomas.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you for having me.
What's up? I always introduce people like we're in a stadium, and then it's like, I feel like I leave.
Well,
I
it's
leave
always-
only you to react to your intro.
It's always kind of awkward too because we were like just talking like
Yeah,
5
true.
seconds ago.
Yeah, I break. You know, actually, I wasn't gonna say this, but now I think it's kind of funny. Is I've been having anxiety dreams, which have happened a lot in pandemic. So this one isn't about you specifically, but I think because we had this on my schedule and I looked at it, I had a dream last night that we were like doing the pod, but then something kept going wrong, and it was for some reason, like I think that like it was like. Fast forward to a time when everyone suddenly opened up the world. So then all of a sudden, all the plans people had made on Zoom were like, let's just do it in person. And so, because this was scheduled on Zoom, so I think I'm having anxiety about going back out. But in the dream, like you showed up to do the pod, and then it was like way too hot in the room, and I like didn't know how to have guests over, and then like the audio didn't work, and it was like 45 minutes late, and you were like being very patient, but just kind of like, so are we gonna start? And I was like mortified. But
Oh man, no, I get that. It's kind of freaky. Everything's starting to go back to normal, and I'm like, I just got good at like being quarantined. So
yeah.
yeah, I've been having the similar kind of like social life dreams as well, nightmares.
Oh man.
Maybe.
Well, before we get down a dark hole, I do like to start with a good confession, just as a way to get to know our guests and start on a positive note. Is there something good you want to confess?
Oh yeah, I went to Ye Rustic Inn last
Ooh.
week and ate inside and had buffalo wings, and it was awesome.
Oh
It's the
my
first time I've done that, so what a dream. It was like it felt like sensory overload. It was great. That's my confession. I did feel weird eating inside, but
That's I one time during pandemic I craved buffalo wings from there and ordered takeout, and they have really good wings, but
Oh, yeah.
that was before they were fully open. So that's all. Like, is it like open now for, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
for people who are like being safe and stuff.
anybody,
awesome.
yeah. And yeah, it's great. I mean, oh boy, that's like my favorite. Those are my favorite wings in LA. Man.
Yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
like
do
that
it. I can't wait. I'm just gonna go out to eat for every meal for the rest of my life. No.
I miss because they used to have karaoke there, and I was thinking I used to go so much to karaoke, like not just there, but I love karaoke. But now I'm like, I don't know that there's certain things I'm not sure will come back, because that feels like a super spreader, like just like passing
Yeah,
the
for
mics
sure.
around.
I'm sure it will. People
my
are gonna forget about it in a year. Like people are gonna be dumb as hell again, and whatever. That's life. That's America.
Yeah. Well, that is a good confession. It's nice to feel there's movement. I think it's one of those things where things are always. I mean, I always get like hesitant to be like things are getting better, because I know that like on many levels they're not, but they were so bad before. It was like we were in the house on fire, and now we're out of the house, but we still have to like build a new house. But it's like, okay, at least we're not
Yeah.
on fire anymore.
That's true.
So I was speaking of like sort of. I'm like, speaking of tragedy, but not really. But I started this pod because I started going to therapy late in life, and I like found it was really around the same time I started doing comedy, but just really like validating to be able to talk to people, and just like even things that I didn't think would be helpful to talk about. So I like to ask people like, what's your experience with therapy? Do you go, or do you have like a confidant, or sort of like what's your way of like dealing with things in life when if you're not a repressed person like me, I imagine you have ways of coping.
Oh yeah, no, I go to therapy. I've been going for years. It's crucial. Um, it's been weird during the pandemic. Felt like I had, I just got so sick of Zoom. I just started going back in person again. That's been nice, but I think it's like really important. I changed so much after I started going. Like
Yeah.
it, and was really able to pinpoint a lot of my problems and
Were
issues.
you did you start going as an adult or like after you started doing
Yeah.
comedy? I
Yeah,
say
I think
adult like you like it's like in my head I'm like well we all like you start comedy and that's that yeah any age but for some reason in my head it's like a whole different life before and after I
uh-huh.
don't know.
Oh, you're right. It is. No, but I started going as a grown up. I maybe went twice as a kid, but I started going just like maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago.
Okay, cool.
And maybe not. Yeah, no, about 5 years ago. And I went because I had been single for like the first time in a while, and I was going out with different girls, and I liked this one girl, and um, I got into some weird situation where she was at a show of mine, and there was this other girl there who I didn't really know very well, but she was sort of like I couldn't, I didn't have the heart to be like stop talking
Oh,
to me, and
okay, yeah,
so
yeah. Like she was hurt, like hitting on you, but you also weren't in a defined situation, so
she wasn't hitting. She was hitting on me, but she was also sort of drunk, and I felt like
ah.
weird about telling her to like just sorry, I'm like with somebody, and also I didn't really know if I was with that person, but at the same time I didn't really want to be talking to this drunk girl, and anyway, so the girl that I liked, who I was seeing at the time, was like, I don't really want to see you anymore because it's very clear that you have a hard time like telling
Oh,
people how you feel because you're afraid that they won't like you anymore, and you
oh
have
man.
boundary issues, and I think you need to work on all that and get that checked out. And I was like, oh yeah, you're totally right.
Wow, that's like the LA girl shit though, for sure. Like that like now having lived in LA first, I could like see myself accidentally saying something like that. I try to be like everyone's coming from such a different place. Like I've been going to therapy now since I was in my 20s and I was in New York early 20s single and really messed up. So it's like I went through it too, but it's yeah, that's a lot to say to someone.
Well, you know,
Man.
like I had known her and we had been friends for a bit, and so and then we started seeing each other, and she had known, I think she had always seen like my side of the story of everything,
Yeah.
which is like, I don't know, it's just like I told her I was nice, and they, whatever my like little fucking
Yeah.
dumbass vibe is. And I think she realized, like, I think you need to like be more honest with people about how you feel, because sometimes you like lead them on, or make them, it's okay for people not to like you, is I think
Mhm.
what she was sort of getting at. Like, even if it's like a stranger at a show, I wouldn't be like, hey, sorry, I gotta like walk away now.
And
I have
also they
to.
might probably won't not like not you're right it
Yeah.
doesn't matter first and foremost but oftentimes when we put ourselves in those situations like oh they're gonna hate me like if you just think if someone did that to me would I understand I'd be like oh yeah I'd be like oh well, I was really drunk like thank you for
Right.
you have a lyric in because okay so in your special the golden one which I love so much I
Thank you.
watched it in like quarantine because it came out right before or right
Like a
around the same
week
time.
before, yeah.
Yeah, so I watched it like on at home, but I remember seeing the billboards everywhere, and I was like, "Oh my god, so cool!" But I really like how you combine. For people, if you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. But he does stand up, obviously. But then there's like these music interludes that are more than just like they're. It's like a performance. You're a musician, but you're like this character almost. I mean, I know that you do perform, but I don't think I've seen that side of you so much in comedy shows. And
Yeah.
you're like full on like a rock star singing. But there's one song, I think it's Hurts to Be Alive. You say, like, I'm everything fucked up you want to fix. And I love
Yeah.
that lyric. Or what, yeah, sorry, I'm butchering your lyrics.
No, no, that's it. You got it.
It's so good because it's like, it kind of captures, and the spirit of it feels like a jam that you'd like, pop in a, beat up car and drive down the PCH and like the windows down. But then it's also like so sad and true in a way that's very funny, obviously. But I feel like what you're saying now, like that honesty between you and your friend, kind of hits that note for me because I'm sure it was really upsetting at the time when that happened, but it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
like it got you to find out more about yourself in a way that like maybe
It did,
became
yeah.
more you.
I just spent so long. I think I spent all of my 20s like not communicating how I felt, that the second that I was sort of single and sort of thinking on my own for the first time really in my like adult life and my life like as a person who had some semblance of a career. Like I'd started to make a living as a comedian, and then I was single and I was starting to think for myself. I was like really open to other people's thoughts about me or how to like help myself, because before that, you know, like I had been in a relationship for a long time that was just so stale. And sometimes we would talk about going to therapy, but we would always be like, but why? It's like, the truth is we don't like each other. Like that's never going to change. And then when we broke up, I think it like really helped both of us to really start to like think like, why were we even in that relationship for so long? And like,
How long was the relationship?
it was like 3 years or so.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty long. That's around the time when it's like if you're not planning to move forward, it can get really comfortable if it's just your like status quo. But
yeah,
deep down, you know, if you're like not where you want to be in life and you don't necessarily see them with you, it's sort of like at some point this will end, and it could be now or tomorrow or.
For sure. Yeah. And it was like, even like a year in, we were both like, I remember thinking like, you're not in love with me. And I remember her probably having the same thoughts.
That's like, I used to get really in my head. I'm really working on a lot of this stuff. So I'm like, whenever I say like used to, I'm like, I probably still a bit of this, but a lot less. But I'm definitely far from perfect in relationships. But I'm in my first like real relationship this year. In a weird way, like the pandemic forced it. But I used to get very in my head that way as well. It's like always about like what, like I need to know what they really want before I decide what I want, because based on like if they don't like me that much, then I don't want to like them that much. But at the end of the day, I think relationships are like that. It's like you can't really be 100, even. So you have to just be like, what do I want, and then go for it, and then maybe get hurt, which is weird that comedians have such a hard time with that, because I feel like comedy is like that. You just go on stage and you bomb, and you know it's going to happen at some point, even if you're good, and then you just like do another. But I don't know what it is about relationships, but that fear of like, but if I go for it and I wanted it and I don't get it, then it'll be bad. But if I pretend I want it but I don't want it and then I go for it, it won't matter. It's like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah, I get that. That's always that's the classic crutch of like, if I don't care about it, nothing matters. But it gets harder when you get older, because you start really wanting to care. And then you also see people around you who have like found people in their lives who they really care about, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe that would be nice. It's also just like things stop being cute when you get older. It's like, it's not as fun to run around and be like a fuck machine when you're fucking, you know what I mean? It's like,
Speak for yourself.
Cool.
I'm still a fuck machine. Yeah, it does have it's a different context, I feel like. It feels more like you're resisting something. Although it's like everyone has their own like lifestyle, and that's fine. But there is a difference between like, because I feel like as an adult fuck machine, whatever. Is that the official term? If you're an adult fuck machine who's like very open with boundaries and all that, you're probably like on the opposite spectrum, where you're like in the super like polycule community, which is like its own thing. But then that's like, when you're super honest to a point where it's already not. It's its own thing. Like that takes a commitment of its own.
For sure. Yeah. I guess what I meant to say is it's not as cute for me to go around being a fuck machine. For other people, for people who have like developed that ability and that level of like communicating with each other, then it's fine for them, but not for me.
I know what you mean. It takes away, because even when I think about, especially like in comedy, I feel like I have a lot of friends who are like poly, but like it doesn't have that like edge element of like when you're young.
No.
They're squares, but it's definitely a feeling of like, okay, so this is the thing that you decided to study and research and you went to grad school for. Okay.
Right.
It's like, great, it's not cool anymore.
Yeah, no.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get your confession. And we're back. Oh wow, what a lovely break. Whitmer, it's time. It's weird. I call you Whit in person, but then Whitmer officially. Do you go on comedy podcast? Do you go by Whit or Whitmer?
Whatever. Either is fine. I tried to change my name to Whit, honestly. Just
okay. So that's what you go. Because on like flyers, you still go by.
Well, I tried, but then I was talking to I was like getting a poll out from my friends and business partners and stuff about before my special came out, just being called Whit Thomas, and they were like, "Do Whitmer, it's weird." But I'm like, Whitmer doesn't have like my name just like doesn't have any. There's no like poetry to it, and I want it. It's like harsh, you know. And so I want like when as a kid I hated Whitmer, and so I went by my middle name, which is Alex or Alexander. And so
I could see you
like,
as like a skate punk Alex. I feel like.
yeah, part of me's like, damn, I wish I would have fucking.
No, Whitmer's a cool name. Wit is really cool too because it's like obviously witty wit.
Right.
But that was more for my edification because I feel like it's like whenever I go into like journalist mode, I use names that I don't actually call people in real life. But it's good to know that you liked to go by Wit. You know what? That's another situation of you gotta do it's in your heart. I know it's too late now, but
Right.
I'll call you Wit on this pod. Okay, Wit.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anything you'd like to tell me?
Oh yeah. So and this is like giving me a real identity crisis. We can go all into it, but for my whole adult life since I was 20 or something, since my dad stopped being able to co-sign with me on stuff, I have completely photoshopped my bank transaction records.
Oh, wow.
And sorry if this is already something somebody else talking
No,
about.
no, never.
But
I've never
in
done.
order to get new places to live.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
so full on okay, the cosign thing makes sense now.
Yeah. So like ever since, let's see, I don't know, since I was maybe 22 or something. And that's probably like 6 places. I like developed a real good skill of like photoshopping my bank. And and I've never got caught.
Uh-huh.
And I used to always say I made $10,000 a month.
Nice. Wait, can I ask, so what did you first have the idea? Was it like a very like cavalier, let me just do this in the first time, or was it like, oh, I really need this? It's like a whole like what was your mentality when you first did it?
It was just like, haha, like, let's get it. Well, because I lived in low income housing in downtown, and so I didn't have to make money or whatever to live there because my rent was so cheap, and it was cheap because it was for people who didn't make any money. And but then once I moved out of there, it was just really competitive, and I couldn't find a place because I didn't have any credit and I didn't make any money. I just like delivered groceries or whatever. And so I just started. I did it just sort of as a spoof without telling anybody. And then I got really scared the first time I did it because I was like, oh my God, what if I get caught? Is this like illegal or something? And I texted it to my friend who's a graphic designer, and I was like, do you notice anything funny about this? And they were like, no, it just looks like your bank account.
What if they came back with notes? Like I would actually like as a graphic, actually I would go with a minimalist approach, maybe just block letters.
Well, then they go, oh wait, it says you make $10,000 a month, but none of your like deposits and your credits equal $10,000. It's like the math is totally wrong. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm screwed. And I probably didn't sleep for like 2 days because I was like so nervous the first time.
And you had already turned it in, basically.
Yeah, I'd already given it to the woman, who was like, and she wasn't just like the owner of a house. Of a property. She was like a management company for properties.
But now, I feel like all those management companies are so like corrupt that I'm like, yeah. Fuck them. But it is, yeah.
You're totally right. But anyway, but she didn't notice, and then I was in, and then from then on, baby, anytime I will look at the coolest place, not in LA, and think I could get that. Just knowing my Photoshop skills.
How much of this is being a white man? No, I'm just kidding.
True, but I mean, like the Photoshop, it's a plus. It definitely is a plus.
You've demonstrated look if you can.
It's equal to the fucking all gangly white guy.
Have you watched Parasite? The movie?
Yeah, oh yeah.
They do a little forgery in that, but that's the kind of thing where I'm like, if you're gonna be that good at it and do the job, then you got the job.
Well, yeah.
Like if you're paying, I mean, it's like you're paying rent, you're living there. Like, what are they gonna do?
Oh yeah, no, I remember when I first moved to LA, I knew a guy who had an agent, which was really exciting. And he said he got the agent because he called as acting like a manager, but it was just him and said, "Hi, I'd like to set up a meeting for my client." And he actually got in the door. And then once
Oh.
they found out that it was all a lie, they still like repped him because they just like appreciated the effort.
That's so interesting. Like now, because I feel like I heard a lot of those stories too before, like when I was younger, and they're really like I remember people talking about how Pink just stayed outside the like, and this was back pre-internet where you literally just show up and just stay there for like a day until the executive met with her. But like, I feel like Hollywood loves telling those stories, but then obviously when they're successful, but usually it means the person also had it. And yes, of course, a lot of people have it and don't get seen. But it's just so interesting that they like to tout that, and then not just the and then they worked hard and then they became like I always feel
Oh
like we
yeah.
just need like why not just be like they did the thing that you told us to like why do we have to trick you?
Well, there's like a I mean, you're
But no,
totally
I
right.
totally get it. I'm always like you guys want to be scammed. Like it's like
I
people
just
love
worked
telling those
really
stories.
hard for 15 years and then something started to happen. Yeah, that's like, I mean, fuck. It's like, it's definitely not as compelling, but
Well, it is kind of true though, because people love those stories. Because I think everyone feels like they could be, if like it's like they could be the next Olympic winner or whatever. And it's like the reality is like, on some level, things are possible. But like, yeah, then you would have to do what you're saying, like train for the all the time and figure out as you go whether it's worth the effort or not. And people
yeah.
always leave that part out of the biographies. But
People also always forget to, you always forget, like, I wish somebody would have told me when I moved out, like, there's an order of suc success in the entertainment industry, and it's like not romantic or at all. It's basically uh, children of famous people first, and then it's very rich people, and then it's kids who went to like really fancy colleges,
yeah.
and then it's kids who moved here when they were fucking 5 to be actors or whatever it is, and they've been doing it, and now they're 20 and now they're starting to do things like Timothy Chalamet or whoever it is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then
Or
it,
even the other Olsen. Like I mean, she's always
yeah,
doing stuff for a while, but she really didn't come out as her own person.
yeah. And then normal people start to be like, considered. So there's a lot of like people ahead of you.
Even
And
within that, people don't like. There's a ton of like shitty celebrity kids that will never
yeah,
get.
true.
There's a lot of that. I mean, I have to like disclose that I would probably fall into the fancy school category. But so sorry. But on the other hand, there's probably as much as I go like because I went to NYU and a lot of people at NYU are like that, like just already from generational wealth. And so I remember seeing that and being like, oh, this isn't fair. And then now being in a group where people are like, oh, fuck NYU. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. But also like, I don't think there was any chance I would have been here if it was like, that was my one ticket. And I'm like, as much as I'm like, I didn't need to pay all that money for that school. I didn't do anything. I 100% would have given up before. There was like no other open door. I'm like, I
wish.
literally from the Bay with immigrant parents. I'm like, how would I have
I
found my
think
way
you're
here?
an exception for sure. I'm like, I obviously that's how it is. I'm just saying, I never knew any fucking rich, like, I didn't know any successful people until like 3 years ago. So it was
Well,
like,
now you know yourself. So
and then I went, yeah, well, then I went to New York and was really starting to do stand up there. And I was like, holy shit, like kids are different here. Like the amount of like, I just feel like people have more money there or something like that. And I remember feeling like very small. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't realize. And, everybody's doing well. And I think also comedians for the most part are kind of like more interesting out there, I guess, or they
Do you
try to be or whatever.
Do you feel that more than this is interesting because you've lived in both New York and LA, but I would well, I'm curious what do you feel that more in New York that people like that small feeling or more in LA?
Well, I think I'm more excited to be doing shows in New York. I like I think comedians are just really good out there, and um,
Well, I feel
but
like,
I feel
oh, sorry.
small out there because I think it's like a lot of rich kids.
Yeah,
And
that's interesting.
yeah.
I wonder because I moved there when I was like 17, and so in a way, I like didn't really grow up there, but because of that overlap, I think I got a bit of that sort of like weird cultural awakening. But
Hmm.
New York, I don't know. I have a very Stockholm syndrome with a relationship with it because I also feel that way, that small feeling. But for me, I feel like New York is a place where you can have not, like when you talk about forging the bank statements, I'm like that feels like something in New York you get away with more because like I was living in a basement in Brooklyn with the like ceiling would fall on me and like it was like with like two improvisers who like never like the shower was literally black when I moved in and I like spent a weekend cleaning it. It was like that was the vibe in New York and also there's rich people. But I felt like having that even though when I think about it I'm like I would be miserable now. I probably was. I don't remember being always miserable. I remember like being excited about going to shows and starting to do comedy and like hanging out. And I can't imagine having any drive here if I was living like that. So I don't know something. I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know
that's
if there's an
what's
answer,
great
but
about
it's
New York is like everybody's miserable together. And even the rich kids I'm talking about, it's not like they were living these lavish lives. I'm just saying like they all came from like Connecticut or
yeah,
something. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
totally.
it was just like their family life was like very different than mine, I think. Like their upbringing. And
How
now
long
they're
were
all
you in New York?
everybody's poor. I've never lived in New York. I've
Oh,
only
gotcha,
been there for big chunks of the year over the course. I guess I've like lived there, but
gotcha,
not.
gotcha.
I've never had a residence there.
For like work and comedy and stuff.
Working there and staying with my girlfriend who now she lives in LA, but and stuff like that. And then yeah, over just the last bunch of years, but um yeah, I don't know. You're right. I mean, I've been so broke in LA forever, and all right, yeah, and like the thing that really regret is not moving to New York when I was younger. I wish I would have had the wherewithal to go to New York and like be where everybody's close together and kind of all struggling together and just staying up late because I moved here and like lived in Mar Vista and didn't know where anything was or how to get anywhere and everything felt so far away and like and I if I was in
LA,
New York I don't feel like I would have felt like that.
yeah, it's weird. Like, cause I lived in New York for 8 years, but LA, and I like LA a lot now, but LA has an almost opposite experience. At least if you're like in your 20s, 30s, like from New York, like you move. Almost everyone I know moves here, unless you exactly moved here because you got the big break. Like, if you move here, even if you're like with friends or know people, it's like very miserable the first few years. And in New
Yeah.
York, it's like you move there, and though it's miserable, it's like there's a lot of excitement. And then it gets more miserable as you live there longer. And in
Yeah.
LA, I feel like as you live there longer, you do start to like feel calm and like unwind. And yeah, I don't know what it is. But I want to talk about this. Okay, so because this idea kind of ties into the bank statements, like we're talking about career stuff, this like kind of fake it till you make it idea. And I don't know. I mean, you are doing really well and successful now, but you're talking about early on and having these like, doubts or feeling like, oh, I feel different. And which is honestly probably what makes your comedy stand out is finding your own voice. Like, when did you sort of shift and, or was there a moment or was it gradual, like when you were like, I need to fit and do all these things people say, and then shift to like, I'm going to make the thing even if it's not something I've seen before? Like, I know, you're making music, you're shooting your own movies. Like,
Oh
what did you
yeah.
have an active switch to that mentality?
Well, I always wanted to do movies and stuff and would make shorts and get on Vimeo staff pick or whatever it
Nice.
was. I don't know, and that was like awesome, and that's all I wanted was that. And then I was doing stand up and just really trying really hard to get on late night, and I did all the channels of like what you're supposed to do to kind of like to have a career as a comedian, like go to Just for Laughs, New Faces, which is like a for the listeners a big comedy festival that's excited. I don't know if it still is, but it was at one point like really excited to get invited. I did all these things and
That's so funny that it just for laughs is still a big deal. I think just the pandemic stopped everything, but that anytime it's come up on the pod too, or any like comedy thing, it's like everyone, it's shorthand for like, we all know how big this is. And then we all assume nobody outside of comedy has any
Right.
idea. Like, we're like, it's this big thing. It means everything. It's going to change your life. Also, there's no way you know what it is if you're not in comedy
Right.
or like in entertainment.
Well, having to explain it to my dad was like very difficult. But yeah, I got to go there, and I did all these things, but it just was never happening. Like my career as a comedian, I just like couldn't get a fucking leg up. And then
And
my
then you forged a bank statement. and sent
I
it
was
to
forging bank
Mr.
statements
Hollywood.
left and right. Just so broke, just like in and out of having to do unemployment and stuff. Like
It shows in a way, like it is really frustrating, obviously, because I mean, we won't get too into the socioeconomic landscape, but outside of that, it also speaks a lot to your resilience, because not being able to, you know, have a place to live often is a reason people leave. And, you know, I understand there's probably like, it's hard and there's probably privilege there as well. But so I'm not saying like anyone has to go and forward something in order to, like, no shame if anyone moves away. But specifically, I do feel like you just had very like focused ambition, because I don't think everyone would have done that, but you knew like no matter what you have to stay and make it work, and then you did. And so I think that that's like, to me, what's really cool about the story is
well,
you
thanks.
know, like you
Well,
didn't
yeah,
come from
going-
like, I'm going to try to trick everybody, because I, you know, it doesn't feel that way. And that's what, whenever you hear stuff like that, when people highlight like inequity, you're like, yeah, it seems like the people in power tend to be the most evil, because yes, if you're forging statements left and right just to swindle people, that's bad. But this situation is like, you moved here to pursue a dream. You're trying really hard. You're working really hard. And it was just like not a system that made it easy for you.
No, it didn't. And I remember like the first time I ever had to pay, got like when I like 3 places ago when I had forged my spot, my shit, obviously. And then I got into the place and it was the most rent I ever had to pay. But I was like, if I can just get into a spot, like rent in LA is so expensive, then I can figure out how to like make the money in order to pay for the place. And that's what I always tell everybody when they're considering moving to LA and then they talk about how rent is expensive. It's like things being expensive is just the city. That's just like
Yeah.
what it's like. You just have to accept that it's okay, or that you're going to be okay, and that you'll be able to figure out how to pay rent. Like, it doesn't matter how much money you save, whatever, you're going to be broke until you're rich if you live in the big city. And like, so just like accept that that's life. It sucks, but that's kind of what that was my mentality, at least. And like, and I wasn't making any fucking money. It was like unemployment and then selling things and then having some job for a second and then it going away and then hopefully getting to do a stand-up show somewhere or like planning a tour.
How
And
far into stand-up were you when you moved to LA?
I had started
gotcha.
in LA. I moved to
Oh,
LA
wow,
to
okay.
be an actor when I graduated high school. So I've been here for a
Gotcha.
really long time.
That's so
And
cool.
but
Well,
when I
it's-
first moved here, me and my dad co-signed a place and I like worked at a skate shop and then I delivered pizza and then I worked delivering groceries forever. And then slowly was able to like not have to do any of those things.
It's like, in a way, like you're kind of describing, I mean, I don't fall into the like totally spiritual witch LA girl, but I do like have a lot of friends in that and I respect it. But you're kind of, it sounds like you're talking a little bit about what people describe as like law of attraction, because, and even if you don't think of it that way, because I hate when people quote The Secret. My sister like loves that. But in a way, you do kind of grow to fit the tank, right, that you're in. Like, it's like a new fish or whatever. I don't know why I thought of a fish, but it's going to take a second to adjust. But then you figure out your surroundings and you know where your borders are. And it sounds crazy to just say it that way, but I think you're right. Like, if you decide that this is like the life you're going to be in, either you will sink or swim. And you have to plan like you're going to swim, which you did. And don't be the one to leave. But yeah, of course, there are chances someone will be like, you're done. And then you're done. But I think the secret is to not be the one to be like, well, I'm out.
Well, and money doesn't solve anything. Like, I
Mm.
mean, it solves so much, really, but it
No, I know
doesn't
what you
like
mean. There's always more problems, more things to pay
anything.
for.
Yeah, yeah. Life, and like another thing to consider is like when your biggest problem in your creative in your life is like, I got to figure out how to pay rent. It kind of rocks because no matter what, you have that big problem. But then once that goes away and you've like figured out, oh wow, I can pay rent for a long time, then you have to like really start thinking about your
Doing stuff.
life. And it's like, whoa, whoops. But the other part of it
Try
is
getting
like,
a dog. I feel like I
oh
just
yeah,
started
dude,
feeling stable, and I've had it for a few years now, but it took me a while to like. It brings out a lot of those anxiety issues of like, oh, I finally learned how to take care of myself. Just kidding. No, take care of another life.
yeah, that's why I won't get a dog. But it's like, just like accept that you're broke and
Uh-huh.
just like don't let it consume you totally.
Yeah.
There's obviously exceptions. I'm just talking about mostly when people like, if people ask me about moving to
Yeah.
California or to New York, like I'm just like, don't fucking plan the next 2 years of your life in Alabama,
Yeah.
saving money every day so you can get an apartment in New York or LA because it's gonna just disappear immediately and just
Yes.
like move there broke.
Yeah.
And
That's smart.
because it
That
doesn't
really is.
matter. Like just go now.
You
Um,
do kind of figure because you're kind. Yeah. That's. I don't know why. Like. This is kind of different, but what you're saying about like just moving into a place that you had the most rent ever, like it's almost like you creating hurdles, but you know that's where you want to end up. You want to be able to pay it. So if you have all, it's like a math equation where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to pay it yet, but I do know in order to be this person who pays this rent and has the money, I do have to live in a place with this rent. So then you're almost like solving from the back of the
yeah.
equation. Like I did that once when I decided to quit my first full-time job when I moved here was like producing for Cracked, and they let me write a lot, but like I officially got in as a producer and I wanted to write. So when I finally left them, I like quit to be a like pursue full-time like comedy and writing, and I knew before I left that it might be a while before I got something, so I moved apartments and signed a lease for a studio that was like the most expensive place I've ever lived, and like twice what I had was paying before, really cheap at NoHo. And it sounded weird, but in my head, I think I thought, well, if I can't make this rent, like that was a rent that you should have been able to make if you're like working as a writer. And I wasn't there yet, but I was like, if I want my next year to work out, I should at least like start as if it's gonna happen. And
Yeah.
it did, which is the weird thing because I remember that feeling of moving and be like the panic of like I just took my safety net away, but also of going, I'm alive today, I'll be alive tomorrow. At some point, if I run out, I'll figure it out. Like it won't be like zero bank account die. Like it'll like it will suck, but I won't die. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
and yeah, everything's gonna be okay. It's like fucking there's ways to fucking make money. And also you get so good as you get older at like figuring out how to fucking get money. Or at least I did. Like
Mm-hmm.
fucking food stamps or unemployment or like
Shopping
rigging
at Ross, you know.
unemployment. Shopping at Ross, yeah, sure. Getting some like old Volcom jeans from the year 2006, but for some reason they're brand new at Ross. Um, that's my experience.
Ross is,
But
yeah, I only because I live in Glendale. Well, I probably shouldn't say where I live. Never mind. I live
nah,
near Ross, and it's been
oh, I know that,
like,
Ross.
it's definitely during quarantine. It's in a strip mall where I like just to get out of the house would go occasionally to like pick up supplies for my dog because it's next to a Petco. But I started like branching out into the other stores during my very bored days, and I gotta say, Ross, it's I think they try to make it a bad experience so you won't want to go back and return things.
I think
Like
you're right.
it's like they scream at you. It's like I feel like the training manual is like, let's make this place look like it's a mess so people will feel like they found something cool, and then they wait way too long in line, and then it's not worth returning. So then you
No,
just keep it.
nobody wants to go back there. Make the parking lot hellish. The line to check out is like the fucking hedge maze
So
from
bad.
Shining. That's awful.
They take people away from the counter when more people get in line. They're like, "Oh, can we send someone away?" Like,
That's
it's literally worse. Well,
bad.
I really appreciate you sharing this. I think that it's, especially as someone who like, I mean, I know everyone's like gonna look at their own career and their own, maybe their worst critic, but I think I would consider you very successful and very much have your voice and know what you want to do. And so hearing that, I think, is very inspirational, for especially for anyone sort of early in their career or thinking like they want to keep going, they don't know where they are, and they don't know how. It's like,
Well,
you'll do
thanks.
it.
Yeah. I mean, the icing on the cake for all this is like going, doing all this shit as a comedian and trying, doing, all the channels and shows and trying really hard to do all the things and fit into the box of like a stand-up comedian forever and just being like broke and whatever it is. And then where everything started to work and be okay for me was I had, had like stand-up agents and shit, and then it wasn't, obviously I wasn't making any money or anything like that for them, and I was not ever booked onto Conan or whoever, and so they dropped me, and in them dropping me, it made me just kind of think like, well, I guess I'll just do whatever I want. I'm not like doing this for anybody but me. And that's when like things started to click for me as a comedian of like playing music and
that's awesome.
And all that shit. And then, I was lucky enough to like get to do a comedy special and whatever it is. And now I have a whole thing, but it's only because of just.
Well, you worked hard. I mean, I totally get that, wanting to like say lucky enough, because you are lucky, but also you worked for it.
Right. But I was lucky enough that I did my show and the right people were in the crowd and all that shit. But like, if somebody would have told me 8 years ago, like, dude, don't stop worrying about a type 5. Like, this isn't 1989. That might have been helpful. Like, just like go and do what makes you happy and like enjoy yourself. What you enjoy yourself. Oh my God, you kidding me?
Yeah,
and
if you
it's
guys
so
need
funny
forged bank statements, just hit up Whit.
Well, it is similar. It's like, just fake it, dude. Fake it.
Yeah.
And that was scary about playing music live, like, and because I'm like, oh, I'm not like, I haven't played in a band in so long. I'm not like a real musician. And it's just like, I just fucking fake it. And that is kind of like, I used to sing, or whenever I used to do stand up, I would sing in like a funny accent and stuff. Just like faking it as a fucking rock and roll guy. I don't know. It's like the same fucking shit as forging these bank statements.
Well, the secret is they're probably also fake. Like, no, like we think of icons as the like their peak of who they became, but they weren't born like that. They started somewhere with a vision, and then they like became what we know as these rock stars, which means at one point they were kind of faking it. Like,
dude, everybody's fucking. Yeah, that's a good point.
And banks I'll have to say that banks are always scamming anyway. So you know what? They're faking. They literally get bailed out. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to get political.
The other bit of it, the other bit of shit is something that like I took me a second to learn is like never feel bad about taking something from the government, a bank, a corporation. Just never feel bad because it doesn't like they're scamming everybody. I used to feel bad about being on unemployment. I would obviously feel bad about lying with the bank shit and to these property managers and shit. Just like fucking, if you move to a big city, everything is so fucking corrupt. Yeah. Like the vaccines in LA, when they first started, they weren't giving them to anybody. They were only giving them to cops and essential workers and frontline workers. And none of the cops were taking them, so they were throwing away 60% of these vaccines. Yeah. And so I got lucky and got to do a vaccine in end of February, which was like a few weeks, maybe a couple weeks early. And I remember feeling like really guilty about it. And then I was talking to somebody who worked at the vaccine place, and they were like, dude, everybody's throwing them away because the rollout is everything is just so fucked. And so it's just like, take what you can get.
Yeah. Trust yourself that nobody is perfect. So it's not about trying to become a perfect thing, but trust that you know what you want the world to be and that you're living it. Like, I understand that guilt feeling too, because I've done that. Like I won't get into the details of it because I shouldn't, but I got fired for some shitty reasons, like speaking about stuff. And then it turned out they did this a lot. And so they were like trying to pay me off. And I didn't want to take it, but what I ended up doing was like, oh, maybe I'll take it and donate it, because I felt guilty, because I was like, they're going to think they won, because they think they got away with it. But it's like, you know what? They did get away with it. It sucks. They got away with it. It's not good, but So then I ended up being like, okay, I'll take some of it and donate some of it. But it's truly, it was like, why am I feeling guilty when this is like the people who literally show that they're more willing to pay people to not work for them than pay people more.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
How long ago did you start doing stand up?
I started in like the end of 2013, so like I guess 7, 8 years. I started in New York. I kind of like my trajectory is weird because I started in New York, but then I moved out here when my brother died. So it was like a year and a half in. So I was like, in New York, you kind of grow fast. So I made a lot of friends, but I definitely wasn't like, quote unquote, ready to be doing a lot of stuff. So it kind of felt like starting over in LA. But then sometimes I'll go back to New York and I'll have friends from before. So that does help. But it's weird because people be like, oh, you started in New York? Like, how come I don't know you? I'm like, well, because I was like a year in and dating a, comic and just partying mostly, not like,
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's my other bit of advice is like,
don't take.
if right when you start comedy, don't date another comedian.
Yeah.
But oh man, I don't know how long. When did we meet? Like 2016?
Probably. Yeah, I moved out here 2015, so that would make sense. Yeah.
At that bar, that bowling alley. Is that
yeah, Highland Park, right? That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, fuck. Have you done stand up? And have you been doing shows and stuff
Since
in post COVID?
I've done a bit, but like not really. I just fully got vaccinated. I did a few college shows where they like were following protocols, but I'm not out there like doing. I'm not trying. I guess let's just put it this way: I'm not emailing bookers, but
Right.
I don't know. I do feel like it's probably opening up soon. I just want to wait. I don't know. I feel weird about it because I'm like, it's not like I'm dying to do bar shows, but I do miss stand up.
I just miss like doing comedy and shows like inside. I did
Yeah,
one that was
the energy.
outside, and it was like, this is kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah, I wanted to come back like real, like because right now it feels like a fake thing.
Yeah.
Do you have time for a quick game to end on, like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay,
totally.
cool. So this is a game. I just like to end on a game, and thank you so much for sharing all that. By the way, I very much.
Of course, yeah. Sorry if it was like I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to feel like I have all the answers or whatever.
Oh no, I didn't feel that way at all, and
I'm just saying things that I wish people would have told me.
No, it's really good to know. I mean, I feel like I would go back and tell myself things and still not listen. But speaking of going back, I know you're a fan of Blink-182, and I used to have a Mark, Tom, and Travis poster on my wall. And a game that I've sometimes played on the show is called Thesaurus Lyrics, which very simple. I just take lyrics from songs and then do synonyms and see if you can guess what the song is. So this is the Blink-182 version. I'll give you an example. So for example, all the small things, truth care, truth brings, whole 9 yards, the cramp stuff, pure responsibility, authenticity carries. Like that's sort of the idea. Okay. So these, I think these should be easy. They're all like well known. I'm not like trying to trick you with like deep cuts, even though I feel like you would know them. But let's see how you do. Okay. So here's the first one. Well, how well do you say you know for the listeners?
Oh, I know the whole catalog, top to bottom.
I know you're a big fan, but I realize that, like, I guess the listeners should know. So, Whit is a huge fan of Blink, and all right, here's the first one. While you express friendliness, I evaporate innermost. I'm not upright for an occasion of your era. I'll say some of the like pronouns and little words I didn't change, just so you know, because I don't.
Will you express friendliness?
Let me see if I can say it in more syncopation. While you express friendliness, I evaporate innermost. I'm not upright for an occasion of your era. I don't know if that helped.
And so, so the words that you're changing are express friendliness. That's something different.
Yeah.
Okay, what does express friendliness mean? While you... What's a word
maybe
for...
evaporate. What would that... Evaporate innermost. I feel like that would be helpful to know.
Dissolve inside?
We got one of the words. Inside.
Okay, inside. Fuck. Okay, while you express friendliness, I have... I don't know.
Okay.
This is hard. This
do you
is
want
way
me to do the tune? I know, it's funny because it's like I hear... Okay.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. Do you know that one?
I took her out. It was a Friday night.
Yeah.
Hello.
When you smile, I melt inside. I'm not worthy for a moment of your time.
Oh, that one.
Oh,
When you
wait.
smile. Oh, so that's
First
first
date.
date.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh, not took her out. First date. Yeah.
okay, first date. So that would be while you express friendliness. Fucking
It's when you smile, I melt inside. I'm not worthy for a minute of your time.
wait, that's the line?
Yeah.
Wait, well, when you
Smile when you
Oh,
express.
I get what you mean now. Okay. When you
Okay.
smile, I melt inside. So I thought for some reason it was gonna be the same amount of syllables and stuff.
Oh,
Okay.
no. That would be really easy. But this is probably too hard. Okay, let's see if this one. This was a well-known. Maybe that one is a little. That one was like one of my favorite songs, but I feel like I was very much on the like femme side of Blink. You know, it was like.
Well, first date is great. You know,
First
it's
Date's a great
funny.
song.
This is another confession. First date is great, and nobody in Alabama, nobody knew who Blink 182. They didn't listen to Blink 182. Nobody knew about them, and so I went to school, middle school, when that song came out, and there's a girl I liked, and I sang her that song and told her that I wrote it.
That's so funny. I love that.
And I did that with a lot of Blink 182 songs because there's no way they would ever hear it.
I feel like if they would be proud of you. You know, that's like what. If you find out you help like little kids get confidence and talk to girls, I mean, what's not to love?
Oh yeah.
Um, okay, let's see if you know this one. I feel like this is a more easier one. Okay. Greetings on hand. It makes me laugh. Okay. Greetings on hand. The cherub from my hallucination. The obscurity from the backdrop of the crematory.
That's Miss You.
Yeah. I miss you. Hello there. The angel from my nightmare. The shadow from the background of the morgue.
Wait, so hello there is greetings from my hand.
Greetings on hand. On hand. There on hand is a synonym on this. These are all from
okay.
thesaurus.com. Check it out,
Gotcha.
baby.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that's 1 point. Okay, here's the final one. This one I feel like maybe I made too hard, but I don't know why this is like a lyric that I thought about a lot. I mean, I do know why. You'll know why, but and it's from. I'll give you the album. It's from Enema of the State.
Okay.
And suddenly I behold her existing nearby, with emerald surveillance and enlarged bleached fiber. She wasn't draped in loincloth. In general, I importuned that.
Fuck. Okay, she wasn't draped. That means she was naked. Or she wasn't. So when you see her standing there, long
Green
blonde
eyes
hair,
and long blonde hair. She wasn't wearing underwear.
that one's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that was definitely like the seed of my sexual awakening. I was like too young, but I was like, why is it's just words? Why do I feel something about this girl?
Yeah. Wait, this girl's not wearing underwear?
It says, yeah, and she's got green eyes and long blonde hair. It's like, wow, that sounds hot. Well,
I think we probably had that same feeling at the same moment.
well, thank you for playing. You won because you got 2 out of 3. Your prizes, you get to tell the listeners where to check out your stuff, where to follow you, and plug your things.
Oh, cool. Yeah, follow me on just Whitmer Thomas on Instagram and Twitter, and I got a TikTok now. And listen to my music on Spotify and watch my special on HBO. And,
Yeah,
that's it.
the golden one. Is your music under Whitmer Thomas as well?
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for coming on the show. You can follow this podcast at Tell Me Anything Pod and follow me at Larissa T on Twitter. And goodbye.